Now that's significant. The Market Research Podcast.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us on this latest episode of Now That's Significant, a market research podcast. This is your host, Michael Howard, the head of marketing at InfoTools. Today, we're joined by Barbara Gassaway, moderator and president of the research group. Barbara owns Observation Baltimore, a focus group research and recruiting firm. Barbara has decades of experience in market research industry. A differentiator appreciated by clients and colleagues is Barbara's comprehensive understanding of strategic marketing principles, along with current trends and practices in qualitative behavioral science. She is expert in managing client teams, project priorities, and creatively implementing methodologies to discover intimate, underlying feelings from respondents. Among many other accolades, Barbara is Maryland's top 100 woman, the Daily Record, Capital, Regional, and State of Maryland top 100 MBE, and serves on many health-related boards. Barbara is an active lecturer on the topics of market research best practices, human behavior, physician access, and brand strategy. So, Barbara, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Barbara, what's the most significant thing that you wanted to tell us today?
I think it is the recent surge in qualitative research.
So what do you think's led to this increase in qualitative? Do you think it's because maybe it's become a catch-all for non-quant, or is there a deeper reason?
I think there's a deeper reason. I think people are, clients are, according to the article that I based the blog off of, there are lots of different reasons qual is, more popular than it has been in the past. It's a fairly new vertical, market research in general. So I think quantitative has its issues, and we've all had qualitative and quantitative not mirror each other, right? So I think that the sample quality is huge. Sample quality is, it's been an issue in, different webinars and things that I've, witnessed as well as, fed off of and fed to quantitative and qual work. And I think the sample quality, I don't know what the solution is, but I think sample quality has a lot to do with it.
Yes, I guess if someone did know the answer, they would be a very rich person right now, wouldn't they?
Correct.
Yeah. So if we think about qualitative research, then are there any notable people or trailblazers who you think have helped to contribute to the surge?
Because qualitative is so individual, it's a matter of human interaction. So I don't think that one person can make a huge difference in, in leading the way. So I don't know how to answer. Naomi Henderson would be the person and who's no longer here, I share with you. So Naomi Henderson would have led the way if she were here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you have obviously quite a lot of background in qual, as we've read and shared before. Do you mind sharing a little with us about this and maybe some of your other areas of expertise as well?
You mean qualitative versus marketing versus behavioral science?
That's right, yes.
Okay, so it's important to have a marketing background and understand, what goes into marketing and branding and human behavior is, it's so funny. I can't share with you, because it's proprietary, all the projects that we've done recently, but I can share, we talked to a nephrologist in Paris, actually, and he showed up to the interview in a robe. And
Wow.
I thought, if he exposed himself, it would be, my clients would be her, I don't even know what, they would be so embarrassed. So luckily he did not. He was, very articulate, and he helped the project tremendously. So, but when you're dealing with human beings, you have to be prepared for anything to come down the pike. So I think, behavioral science and all of that factors into, having the knowledge of behavioral science, and UPR, unconditional positive regard for whatever comes down the pike, is an important ingredient in getting people to, tell their underlying thoughts, beliefs. We call them POBAs, perceptions, opinions, beliefs, and attitudes.
No, sure. I mean, one of our jobs as researchers is to get a representative sample of the population, and like we can't shoehorn, can we? We just have to take what's out there and then and start from the data that we have.
Correct.
So do you mind sharing a little bit more about the blog article that you mentioned in terms of this rise in qual?
Sure. The author's name was, he was he was on behalf of Forrester. He worked for, I think Vision Critical is someone I follow in terms of his past history. And the article spoke of, I'm trying to find his name. It's
Mike Stevens.
Mike Stevens.
Yes.
That's his name. Yes. So the article spoke of Mike Stevens of Insights Platforms, by the way. So, I mentioned the quality of sample for sure. And in the article, it said that 88% of digital is fraudulent, and 30 to 50% of survey data is bogus. That's alarming, right?
Mm.
So, so other contributing factors were overload of clients to quantitative. They're always fed, especially in healthcare, you're constantly being fed information. So there's overload. They're just burdened with a tremendous amount of data, and the growth of the experience economy, which I think is, it's hard being a qualitative researcher because we've always, investigated the experience economy. So storytelling also was covered. Storytelling, I think, Riva did a great job at storytelling and armed us with the knowledge of storytelling being an indicator of your habits and your behaviors. And the other thing that the article spoke to was the rise of empathy, which I was thrilled to not only read that, but also to, if you don't have empathy as a brand, I don't think you can survive in this environment. So I think all of those things have contributed to the rise in qual.
Yeah, sure. So if we just step back to basics here, what are some of the key features or do's and do nots, I guess, of qual today that researchers should be mindful of?
So I teach the science, qualitative research. So I think a lot of moderators, and the ones I see, use survey techniques to garner responses. So in other words, so don't use the yes, no. My advice is don't use the yes, no questions because you're going to have to ask another question. So just ask the first question that you want to do. So I think that, and I think why, using the why word is defensive. So I think that, and I think using empathy is, before your interview or group or what have you, walk in the shoes of those people and have compassion for their plight. So I think that other suggestions I have, I could write a book. I could write a book. So I think effective moderating and also introducing yourself. So people will share more with you when you're real, when you make yourself real. So they know a little bit about you, you know everything about them. You have a grid, so share some things about yourself that are related to the topic.
So if empathy is such a big issue and we do need to become more human, what are some ways that we can increase that? You've mentioned introducing yourself. Any other pointers?
I think knowing the topic area. So if you are, studying diabetes, learn about diabetes and find out what the triggers are, what they say the triggers are. You don't go on that, but understand where they're coming from. I think is, so research before you do research. So that's key.
Well, I guess one of the main things about market research is understanding our world and the world consumers are in, etc. So that definitely plays a big part of it.
It does play a part of it.
So participants are human, and with Qual, you're engaging often face to face. Human practices, or humane practices rather, they do result in better decision making. Technology, AI, bots, etc., not human so much. So what do we need to be mindful of technology in the Qual space?
So since COVID, I would say 80% of my work is virtual.
Okay.
So 20%, you have to have in person.
Yeah.
If there's a tangible anything, you have to have in-person research. And I thrive on in-person research, but sometimes virtual it's what you need, what is needed for the project. So,
for sure.
And it has broken geographic barriers. And I interviewed a nephrologist from Paris.
Yes.
So great, and he was included in our sample. So that was tremendous. And we can have a group of people from all over the states, and you're not locked into geography.
Okay, so I guess your point has kind of proven technology, AI, bots, etc. They can be helpful in market research. To what extent do you think they will play in the future?
I hope that someone comes up with technology that improves sample quality for sure. So I hope for my clients, who depend on this and make decisions based on it. So, I think, so our platforms will improve. I think technology is wonderful, but I don't think it replaces the human element of, I have to purchase something, so I'm human. And therefore, that translates. So I think even with younger generations, I still think human interaction. We just finished a project with adolescents, and I still think that we got golden nuggets of information that are not possible to get any other way.
Mm. Yeah, so that is always an interesting thing. Because of COVID, because of that 2 to 3 years period of life where we weren't able to get out necessarily, there has been a big missing hole for some people, and some people have got out of practice from conversing with each other and a one-to-one, sometimes face-to-face, or it could even be virtually online through audio-visual communications, etc. So how can we try and recapture some of that was lost?
Lost because of COVID, you mean, or
Yeah,
the in-person?
trying to fill in those gaps. So, researchers that have entered the industry, say in the last 2 years or so, how can they try and catch back up again?
I think, traditional methods. So I think, technology is wonderful, but I also think that renaming something that worked before, you're just renaming it, right? So I think embrace the old and educate yourself on the old and have some kind of differentiator. Have a differentiator that is meaningful. So I think that would be my advice. There are many, many, many smart people who are entering this industry. So I applaud them.
Nice. That is good to see. So I hear also you have a book in the works. It's very exciting.
I do have the book in the everyone has to write a book. That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
So yes, I do have a book in the works.
Do you mind sharing a little about what this is and maybe some of the focus on it?
Oh, it's an anthology. It's not about qualitative research. It's more about being a happy person. So it's focused on understanding how to be happy versus understanding consumer behavior. So it's an anthology, and anthologies give you permission to use other people's work. And it's not recreating the wheel, it's putting it all in one place.
Yeah, nice. And who do you see this being value or useful to? Do you have a particular audience?
I think a target audience. I don't know who the target, anybody who wants to be happy.
Yeah.
I think that if you read my blogs, they're very much on point with, improving one's outlook or improving one's situation.
Yeah, I do feel that over the last sort of 5 years, brands with their ESG responsibilities have really taken that, I guess, consumer welfare, people's health and well-being seriously, and started integrating those platforms, I guess, into their ways of working, which is really encouraging to hear.
So it's interesting to have you say well-being, because a board I was on was measuring well-being, and it was the Y of Central Maryland, and they had a metric for well-being.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing, right? So,
and there
were lots of different things that laddered up to the well-being part of it, but it was pretty fascinating.
And they were able to track some of their initiatives to that particular metric as well?
Correct.
Yeah, that would be fascinating to see some of that data.
I know.
Yeah. If we think now about the future of qual and how it fits in with the other research methodologies, etc., what are we likely to see in the space?
I think the surge of qual, I think there's room for everyone. I think there's enough client need to satisfy everyone. So I would like less bickering. if you ask me what my desires are, I would like less bickering about which is better, and they're both needed, quant and qual. So the future of qual, I think it will remain relevant. It will still be, you're going to have human input. Whether you're talking in technology or not. So I also think AI, I think technology will improve. I think it'll improve what we do.
Yes, I get the opinion as well that while you're seeing the big explosion of ChatGPT at the moment, you are going to have a rise in qual from that perspective as well, because as you will get a portion of the society that's not going to be willing to engage with or will distrust the technology. So having that direct human to human interaction, people will be, I guess, a lot more open to it and trusting as well. It's going to be interesting to see how you could potentially audit and say, like, my answer was from a human. You're possibly going to have that coming up through. So an early kind of related example is sent from my iPhone. So with texts, with emails sent from phones, etc. So you're possibly going to see some of that come up as well, just to help with data quality in the qual space, if that makes sense.
It does. The one thing that I neglected to say, clients have to hire a qualified moderator. They can't just, DIY. They can some of it, but no, don't make decisions based on, without a qualified, behavioral scientist who investigates thoroughly and scientifically crafts questions to get to the answers you need.
That's right.
So it's a very, very, very important.
Yes. And just one final question then. So we've had sample quality issues in quant. How about the quality issues in qual, if that makes sense as well? Like, what are some of the ways that brands can ensure they're getting the best quality answers and responses?
You have to screen your respondents, and you have to blind the questions. So anyone can say, I buy water, whatever. But you have to blind the questions. So quality, and also bias, it also exists in qualitative research. There are people who will do it. There are people who will not, right? So, but to ensure quality, they has to be blinded. Yeah, blinded questions.
Sure. Okay, so
and talk to the person.
Yes. Not just ask them, if it makes sense.
Well, not just have a survey that qualifies them. You have to, people, especially for usage studies. If you're testing laundry detergent, they can, they think I'm very Pollyanna when it comes to this, but they think they use a certain brand and they use another brand. So you have them go to the laundry room, and say, oh, the detergent that you're looking for is there.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so if I can recap what we've talked about today, how there has been a rise in qual, and that qual's not just face-to-face, it's digital as well. There's a whole gamut of ways to get that through. We talked about what's led to this increase in qual, which has been partly due to sample quality, and I guess there's just been some technology enablement as well that's helped with that too. We talked a little bit about your experience as well, Barbara, and you shared some of the deep expertise that you've had in the field as well. We touched on Mike Stevens' article from Insights Platform as well. Touched on some of the alarming stats on quality there, and just how brands can, I guess, supplement the other studies that they're doing with qual to try and get, I guess, a more reflective, balanced view. So it's not either or, it's having both and trying to get the two together, I guess, in a way that is supplementary, moving away from the this or that that you mentioned as well. You touched on too the growth of the experience economy, and how storytelling has really elevated as well. The need for empathy too. So
I think storytelling's always been around. Just saying.
I
It
know
was the article, but the article's pointed out. Yeah.
No, and that's right. And there has been an emphasis on storytelling too for in the last probably 5 to 10 years, which is really good, trying to make sense of things in a way that is relatable.
It's journeys and diaries and whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the rise of empathy as well. So our participants are human, and we need to really keep that in mind, and just be respectful of our participants' time, etc. And when we do that, we will get far greater answers and insights out of them as well. And we also touched on your book, your anthology. So we will be keeping an eye out for that. Any idea on timeline for that? No,
I'm still working.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
idea on timeline. Soon.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Barbara. Was there any final words of wisdom that you wanted to impart?
No final words of wisdom. Thank you so much. Again, I love this industry, so I'm happy to share my thoughts.
Fantastic. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone listening as well. If you have had your interest piqued, then feel free to reach out to Barbara Gassaway on LinkedIn. Any other best platform to reach you on, Barbara?
Instagram. I'm every platform.
Everywhere.
Snapchat. Everyone.
Nice. Okay. If you did also like the podcast, feel free to subscribe, share it with others, or even leave a review as well. So thank you for listening to Now That's Significant.